So weekend preview time once again, and this week it's quite an interesting week of racing. Dan Barber's alongside me, and we're going to jump straight into it with the Eider.
Yeah, let's start with the caveats. I'm not sure if I ever backed the winner of this race.
No, well,
I think it's Rocket. It's normally Rocket. I remember a renewal won by Kempton for Howard Johnson, no longer with us in the training ranks, a few years back, and it was the most gruelling finish I think I've ever seen. Like Morgan B was an out-and-out stayer, was completely legless at the line. Giles Cross, who went on to win the old Greenhorse race, the national trial, Betfred national trial, later in the season, beating Neptune Collonge, who won that season's national. He was legless in second in that Eider. It was that punishing, and with the weather forecast as it's been, I imagine it's going to be survival of the fittest yet again.
Yeah, I mean, I've got in my notes about as gruelling a test as you can have. Heavy, it's going to take some getting, all of those things. And if you look at the field, there's plenty of recognisable names in here.
Yeah.
Old sloggers like Who Blunders Oboe, Portrait King. Are they the sort of
Don't
candidates?
Don't slag him off too much. You've gone with
Old
old slugger. I
slugger.
don't mind an old slugger in this race.
No, not at all. It was meant as a an endearing term rather than rather than a bad term. Are they the sort of candidates you go for here, or are you looking for something that can possibly improve into a race like this?
Obvious improver is this Vinnie Lewis, and he seemed to really benefit from the step-up-in trip when he went to Plumpton last time. I do think this is a stronger race. Shamrock Santos came out of that and won, but it got a soft lead at Carlisle, which is basically speedway, isn't it? If you get on the lead at Carlisle over fences, you don't get past, and there's definitely a feeling that perhaps you don't take literally. But I was really impressed with him. It's just with him and Back to the Thatch, there's a question of horses that don't have many miles on the clock. Are they really ready for what this is going to require? If they do, and if they are ready for it and they cope with it, we're talking about two freakishly strong stayers for their age here. They may well be that, but I'm minded instead to go for something at a bigger price, which we know stays the trip. We know revels in the mud, and step forward the one you just described as the old slogger in Who Blunders Oboe. Venetia's horse have been decidedly mixed, there's no doubt, but Yala Enki was in sufficiently good form and well-being to take advantage of a race that will probably be fairly similar to this one in the Haydock race last week, where he was last man standing.
Very much so.
Yeah, indeed. Then we were on here and I was keen on Wild West Wind for that race, and I've never seen a horse go from in the lead travelling strongly after 3 out to pulled up legless at 2 out. It was ridiculous, wasn't it? But we know Who Blunders Oboe revels in that. He revels in the mud. He's 11 now, but there's been definite signs, and there's no way this is a Hereford horse, yet he ran really well around that sharp track the other day. Galloping course, bit of space between the fences so he can get into a rhythm. If he stays prominent, there aren't many stronger stayers in this, and one thing to observe from the potential make of the field is the number of pace horses. Hainan, Millicent Silver's raced prominently before. The man from Manila's been trying to dominate. Milan's Bar was never sighted after going to the front in the Classic Chase at Warwick. So I think we want something that'll sit a little off it, that stays well, handles the mud, and at 14s and 16s, I think he's a good each-way value bet, particularly if there are no more... We don't want any non-runners at all, really. One we can just about cope with, but if we can get the 4 places with 16 running, I find it hard to see that many beating him, really.
Yeah, it should be a real test. And I remember last week, because last year's winner, Mystery, finished third at Haydock that day. I didn't even realise he'd finished. I was there last week and he was that far behind the winner. I think 128 lengths.
Winning margins at Haydock this year measured in miles as opposed to lengths.
Yeah, it's but I think this could be equally as testing.
Yeah, it just took me back actually. There was one time in the days when comments were written by hand by all the foot soldiers, there was a horse that we were digging some form out from his point-to-point days, and it went in the comment written by somebody who remained nameless, who still works for us, said won by 1.5 lengths. So we had a really poor low rating going into this Hunter Chase based on his point form. It was only when we looked back and he'd won the Hunter Chase that he'd actually won by 1.5 fences.
Oh God!
So the margins were slightly skewed and the rating was slightly skewed.
Well,
the bants, eh? The times we have here.
#bants. So from what's going to be a real test to what's going to be a really good race in the Betdaq Chase, which looks a red hot renewal. And I had a sneaky look at the time form ratings for this, and we seem to be very sweet on one in particular.
Yeah, we are. I mean, to be honest, we've got a few horses in this ahead of the mark, and Artmoresque would be one. He's been given a chance, and he ran really well the other day, didn't he? Behind Waiting Patiently. I mean, no match for the winner ultimately. Another horse we've got well in is Tintern Theatre, who suffered from the Haydock factor, i.e. cantered into the race behind the Dutchman, the Peter Marsh, and then before you knew it, he'd hit reverse because the ground took its toll. He'll run well, and he was impressive under similar conditions a couple of starts back, so I'm fearful of him for definite. I'm fearful of Go Conquer, who looks very good when he gets his own way in front, and he's a good jumper despite a couple of Fs in his form figures. But there's no way I'm deserting this Acting Lass. I tweeted about it before it ran a couple of starts back that I'd been blown away by it at Leicester. He didn't win by far, only 3 ran, but from that race, Ballydyne has won a handicap at Sandown. The runner-up Ballyarthur was in the process of probably winning at Leicester when he made such a bad mistake that he got tired. But I just think this horse has... I don't want to say it's a Gold Cup horse, that's probably going too far. But this is a graded horse, though, without a doubt. You just don't see races won by, like the Ascot race, where he gets sent to the front because Feely felt, oh, why not? He was held up early, which was a change in style. Feely just said, oh, let's go to the front. He had the race taken apart from about 5 out. The winning margin wasn't that far in the end, but he just idles this horse when he gets in front. And I think he's lucky to get away with only a £6 rise. Whether you think that was a strong and deep race or not, we still had Manila Daddy come out of it and run significantly better next time. So I'm not deserting this horse until he's one of those. I'm going to keep back him until he's beaten.
And Acting Lass, a real banana skin for punters, because he's a gelding, isn't he? And I hate names like that. Well, it's just asking for trouble, isn't it?
It's like people come up with the odd name. King Canute's running at the moment. Right. And I know, I'm pretty sure that it wasn't an ode to the old emperor or whatever he was. It's to try and trip up people, and it's worked with me a couple of times.
Still love Wizard Sleeve, or Sleeber, I think it is officially.
Let's keep it PG, come on.
So we're going to swap roles now, I think. Moving over to Lingfield.
If you asked me to do Lingfield, I wouldn't know where to look. I'm supposed to do an ATR on Monday, and the Lingfield replacement meeting was offered to me, but I'd be kidding the viewers if I pretended I knew what we're talking about. But you do, and you're heading to that 5 furlong sprint first off. Yeah,
we are, and there's 2 races in ITV4 this weekend, and the first one is the sprint. It's 8 runners in it, and it looks a really interesting race, and there's sort of 2 levels of the spectrum here, because you've got one who's clear on time form ratings but has a bit to prove in Gracious John, who is a long way clear. He's about £8 clear in our ratings and is the class act in here, but has got 2 really poor efforts to bounce back from.
Right, okay.
So he finished last of 12 behind Catchy in a fast track qualifier at the beginning of the month, and whilst it wouldn't be that much of a shock for him to bounce back, he'd sort of... I'd be inclined to take him on here, and I'd probably do that with a progressive one in Carigini, who only ran a couple of days ago, won at Kempton really well on Wednesday, and is a real improver. Won three of his last 4, and I just fancy him to improve again here. There are a few others to consider. Raw Birth, namely, who won this last year, and is probably better than his recent form suggests. But I'm a bit of a sucker for an improver, as you'll see in a minute. And I fancy Carigini in this. Yeah,
so even if we're thinking here, even if Gracious John runs somewhere near his figure, runs a bit better, this thing still might be able to progress past him. Yeah,
he's got a P on his rating, so that as you know suggests that he's open to about £7 of improvement. So even then, he probably has a little bit to find, but he is bang on in it here, and he's got Ed Greatrex on his back, who's in really good form at the moment, and I just think it's a sort of race that I could see him stepping up to here in Listing Cup.
Excellent. That'll take significantly less time to run than the first race we discussed, the Eider.
Well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you?
But it is the figurehead race anyway. This is the one you really need to tip the winner of.
Yeah, the Winter Derby. I remember, just to head back a second, I always laugh when you talked about there was a horse at Exeter that managed to, in a veterans chase, can't remember its name now.
Midnight Prayer.
Midnight Prayer ran the final 2 furlongs slower than a handicap winner at Epsom over 5 furlongs.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
that could be the same case.
From 3 out, it's only about 2 furlongs, and it took about 50 odd seconds for him to complete the course.
I remember Johnson, even though he was completely unopposed, because had to ride him out just to get him.
I was walking. It was like I'd been asked to cover the course. I mean, just basically in a crumpled heap, broken man.
You might have given him a race.
I reckon I could have out-sprinted him in the last 50, like Jamie Balsh that night. It's Peopleton Brook. That was great.
Might see that again on Saturday with the Eider Chase. I think they'll be tired. So.
Yeah, they will.
So the Winter Derby anyway. Bit of pressure here because I wrote the preview for Timeform for Saturday for the website, and it does look a really good race. And I focus on the pace maps for that, whereby it's sort of the early position maps they're called, where we try and work out how the race is going to fold on early on. And according to the boffins, there's a really low pace forecast here, which means there's not going to be many in here that are going to want to make it.
Yeah.
Which is a mirror image to the trial 3 weeks ago, which Utmost won, and he took advantage of there being no pace on and made pretty much all that day. And it looks like he's going to try and do that again this time around. He's got Robert Haviland on board, who tends to ride his horses more prominently than your general jockey.
Yeah.
So from what we think, he is going to try and fly out and make this all again. But
is he going to do it?
Well, it's a slightly better race this time around. He's got £6 to find with the top rated, and I'm not convinced he's going to get his own way this time again. He did very much have the run of the race, so I think he'll give it a good go, but I think 1 or 2 might come past him.
Right,
here.
okay.
And a couple to think about. A Convey, last year's winner, who was thriving this time last year, won the Winter Derby, went on to win the Easter Classic, and then was probably pitched in a little bit too high in the Champions Mile at Chartin, the Group 1 contest. So he's got every chance coming off the back of a break. He did the same thing last year. He's worth keeping an eye on. As is Khalidi, who I really like, a 4-year-old, was running really well as a 3-year-old last year in better contests than this. Was a supplementary entry for the Derby, probably a bit too ambitious, but ran well at Group 2, Group 3 level at Goodwood and Ascot, so he's got a chance. But I'm going to go with Clear Skies. And
I know this.
Yeah,
Friday night fun dark horse.
That's it. Yeah, and you know me, I love a bit of Friday night fun dark action. So Clear Skies has been a bit of a story really. She's won 5 of the last 6, and you wouldn't really think Aidan O'Brien is a man to go for a Winter Derby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's more of an Epsom Derby sort of bloke, isn't he? But this one just looks really progressive. She's
got to turn her foot, this thing, as well. It really is.
Very much so, yeah. She was unlucky 2 starts back over 2 miles. She got caught on the inside rail, which is a bit of a death trap at Dundalk. You don't want to be caught on that side of the track. So she went away really well last time. Looked a really smart performance, and she looks ready for this sort of test. Listed grade, Group 3, in Ryan Moore's book, which is tipping itself.
That.
Yeah.
CRM next to the horse. You're right. First thing I think is, it's unusual that Aidan would even have a horse in this, and he's got one that's just absolutely flying, can quicken. So we think Utmost will try and make it. She'll stalk, and hopefully quicken past.
Hopefully, yeah, as long as they don't give Utmost too much of a lead. But there's a few others in here that reoppose this time around. Battle of Marathon and Petite Jack, who should keep it genuine as well. Probably won't let him get away in the same way. So should be really interesting, but it's a bit of a cop out because she's favourite.
I might even watch it now.
Oh, well, there you go. You know, you'll be custom making your own General Tufto mug in no time.
Yeah, devotee that you are. So I'm gonna. What we've done in the past, we've done this like you go for a long shot, or you go for sort of a race that we think's a good betting race, as opposed to just one horse in particular. But we're going to keep it simple, I think, this week when we're looking at selections. So we've already discussed Acting Lass. It will probably be sort of next best material.
Okay.
We're going to go to a couple of other races, however, at Newcastle to make up your Trixie or Patent, whatever you want to do. Put in a lucky 31 with Nick's 2 as well, if you like. No. The first one we raised on Grayson in the 320. Okay. I didn't think this horse would get home on heavy ground at Ayr. It was atrocious conditions, but she really did, and it was only near the finish that she got worn down by an Alistair Williams horse, Baby Kicker. I think under similar conditions, now proven, this horse sets the standard. There's a Nick Alexander animal that I think's a budding stayer and will want longer trips and probably handicaps. And Donald's horse, Toboggan's Gift, was a surprise winner on hurdling debut, but that was Musselburgh, admittedly on soft, but Musselburgh soft and Newcastle heavy are poles apart in truth. So I don't think that also get home under these conditions. I hope because he's had a bit more racing than the others, we'll get a bit of a price about Raised on Graze on. I mean, I'll back it 11-8, I think. So we'll have to see what price people go. And then I think probably the best value bet at the price I've seen tonight, Reverend Cust, recent Catterick winner. That goes in the 355 at Newcastle. Thing to note about him, he's got form with Joke Dancer, and it's not an easy race to read that one. They met each other at Haydock. Joke Dancer, in a matter of strides, quickened away from the field and was running on fumes at the end, head in the air, and nearly got collared by Reverend Cust, who wasn't just closing because the leader was tying up, or that was part of it. He was really just getting going, and he showed that he's a proper strong stayer when he won at Catterick the other day from an unpromising position, was well on top at the finish. He's slightly better off at the weights, and I think heavy ground Newcastle, with a race teed up for him, that stiff finish, might just be able to see him reverse form with Joke Dancer, who I do like, but Reverend Cust was asked a big question to come from so far back that day, nearly got up, and I think at the prices I've seen, they may bear no resemblance to what we see in the morning, but there's something like 3's Joke Dancer, 9-2 Reverend Cust. I'd happily take on Master of Irony on heavy ground, so I'm going to go with Peter Atkinson's horse, who he's got something good to work it with as well, because Irish Rose an absolute star, and this horse is steadily heading in the right direction without being quite in that mare's class.
So 355 at Newcastle's your nap, Reverend.
Yeah, that would be the nap. Yeah. Reverend Cust at those prices we've seen, subject to change obviously when we look in the morning. Raised on Graze on will be making up the treble, the third portion of the Trixie, and next best will be Acting Last, this really progressive horse, male horse despite the name, who I'm just going to keep backing until he shows me that he's too high in the weights, but I don't think they've got anywhere near him yet. And
then the old boy, Hublander Zobo, to win the Eider.
Yeah, we border on a Union Jack this week, and the focal point, the middle horse in that for me would be Reverend Cust, but that's it anyway.
Great stuff, thank you very much, Dan.
Cheers, Nick.
See you
Good
soon.
fun.